Welcome back, government students. Today we're going to keep moving with our introduction to kind of government topics. We will be focusing on the different viewpoints on what government should be, how should it look like, who should have power, by looking back at some Enlightenment thinkers and their viewpoints. So some reminders first off. Okay, homework 1 was due earlier in the week. Okay, that was the syllabus. A lot of people got that turned in already, which is great. Let's make sure that if you're missing it, you review it with a parent or guardian, you get it signed, you return it back in for your first homework grade. Also, classwork number 1 was due on Monday, Intro to Government. Okay, I will be grading and inputting those grades into Pupil Path. And they should be updated by the time you're viewing this video on Wednesday. So, getting into our assignment for the day. Okay, so what we're looking at today is, we can start with our aim. And our aim says, how can we compare and contrast various philosophers' views on government? Okay, so we're really looking at this assignment through the lens of comparing and contrasting, specifically people's views on government. Okay, we're trying to figure out what are their views on government, what do they believe a government should look like, what should a government, how should a government function, who should hold the power, and we're going to look at these ideas to compare and contrast. And you guys are actually going to assert which philosopher you agree with the most. So the do now, it asks, what would a perfect government look like to you? What are specific things it would provide? So on your document, you can even just do some bullets, but what are the features of a perfect government in your mind? When you think of a perfect government running a perfect society, what would that government offer to its citizens? What would it provide? What services would it have? So on your paper in the do now space, you should do about 3 or 4 bullets about what should that look like, and then we'll come together as a group. Okay, so coming back now, we should have aim and do now completed, and then we're going to transition into this next portion, which I call the stranded activity. So it's going to give you a scenario, and it says you and a group of approximately 20 others, aged 10 to 17, have become stranded on a deserted island. Fruit trees appear to be a major source of food. Water is available from rainfall. You possess the clothes on your back. There is no apparent shelter. So this stranded activity is posing you with various questions. Okay, you're on this island. There's limited food. There's limited water. There's no shelter. What these questions are now designed to do is make you think about, well, what are some answers to the problems we are facing? How are we going to structure this group on this island so that we all can survive? Okay, so what you're going to be doing is, in your mind, you're working through this scenario. Okay, put yourself there. You're on this island with teenagers, with children. How are we going to figure things out to best deal with these challenges we're facing? So you see there's 6 questions. And these questions are going to try to walk you through some of the decision making you might have to make to make the best out of this situation. So these answers should be detailed. Okay? We don't want to be lacking detail in these responses. Try to think through. I know it's hypothetical. It's a made-up situation. But try to be detailed in how you would deal with these problems. Okay? You can pause the video at this point, work through the stranded activity, and then I'll meet you on the second page for the philosophy of government. So after you brainstormed how you would deal with this island scenario, now we're going to actually look into how philosophers view government, what they believe the role of government is, who should have power in government. Okay, so we're looking at three philosophers. We're looking at Locke, Montesquieu, and Hobbes. And what you are going to be doing is using the readings that are attached to this assignment. There's 3 readings, 1 page for Locke, 1 page for Montesquieu, 1 page for Hobbes. You're going to read through, and you're going to be responding to these questions that are posed in the graphic organizer. So question 1 asks you, who holds the power in Locke's system? All right, so in this box, this should be Locke's view. Okay. The second question, what problems do all people face? Here, once again, Locke's going to share that he feels all people face certain problems. Okay. And the final question is, what should a government do to assist the people? All right. So there's going to be problems listed here. And then this is really, how does the government solve people's problems? Okay, so all 3 of these boxes should really be connected. All right, Locke's going to make a statement about who he feels should hold the power. He's going to introduce what problems he feels people face, and then how the government should assist people in solving those problems. And you're going to see that Locke, Montesquieu, and Hobbes all have pretty differing views on the role of government, on the problems people face, and how the government should step in to assist those people. So once again, you're using the readings that are attached to your assignment on Google Classroom, filling in the graphic organizer, and then we'll meet at the summary task. Okay, so the summary task for today is kind of piecing all of the different aspects of this activity together. Okay, so you have 3 task bullets, and once again, this should be a well-constructed and detailed paragraph. So the first question is really your opinion. And it's asking, which philosopher do you think has the most compelling argument for the structure of government, and why? So which of these 3 philosophers do you agree with in their view of what government should be? Okay, so you're explaining that in your own words. You're explaining why you agree with them for the first task bullet. The second task bullet, you're comparing and contrasting the viewpoints of 2 philosophers. All right, so you're comparing and contrasting the ideas of 2 of these philosophers. And one thing I would recommend is whoever you choose in this first bullet, use them as one of your comparisons. The second one is going to be a different philosopher, but I would use the first philosopher you agree with the most and then compare, contrast them to a second philosopher. Now we're going to, on the last bullet, kind of loop it back to this stranded activity. So what this last bullet's asking you to do is think about, when you go back to these questions here in the stranded activity, who do you match up with in regards to the philosophers we studied? So when you talked about maybe who would have power in your island society, how would decisions be made in your island society, who does that match up with from the philosophers that we have studied? So you're trying to identify, maybe I have views that line up more with Montesquieu, maybe I line up more with Hobbes, but you're trying to figure out, where do you match up with the philosophers we have studied? All right, remember, this has to be a detailed paragraph. So one thing we need to focus on is transition sentences. When you go from addressing one task bullet to another, transition into that task bullet. Okay, don't just move from bullet to bullet and the paragraph will be very choppy. Make sure we are transitioning from responding to one task bullet to another. As always, if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you have issues with the assignment, please join the Zoom office hours for your period on Wednesday. I'm more than willing to help you out, work through those problems, or talk with you through this assignment. If you also want to just pass along a quick question, you can highlight and comment in the Google Doc. I'll get an email and I can respond to that very quickly. Hope everyone is doing well, and I will speak with you soon.